Hey, Chris Jenkins for Charlotte Vibe, Tuesday, November 26th, a few days before Thanksgiving with your Carolina Panthers report. Before I get too much into it, if you haven't subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. Help me get to 4,100 subscribers. And if you already have subscribed, hit that like button. That's the easiest way to support me, help me grow, and do what I love to do, which is bringing Panthers news to you all. So let's start with the biggest news. Started yesterday on Monday, which was Rashaan Gaulden being released from the Carolina Panthers. And you know, I'm not too surprised based on what I saw with Rashaan on Sunday against the Saints, getting bumped into DJ Moore on that punt return, and then a few plays later, not a few plays later, but later on in that game, kind of getting into a scuffle. And you just feel, at least I felt like with this guy, he's been on thin ice with this team all season, kind of like, what are you doing? You know, we had that incident earlier this season where he left practice, and then we had another where he didn't travel. And I remember talking to Rashaan, I think it was in Chicago, and it seems like this is a guy that wants to play pretty bad and is determined, but there's something that maybe the chemistry between the Rivera coaching staff and Gaulden just didn't click well enough. So he was released, and actually Rashaan Gaulden said that he tweeted that God works in mysterious ways. Rivera talked about this was an NFL decision, a business decision that he feels like was the best for both parties. So it almost seems like an amicable divorce, right? So Rashaan Gaulden is no longer with the Carolina Panthers, and there were a few corresponding moves that were made because of that. We got a new offensive lineman, which was Garrett McGinn. He was promoted to the 53-man roster, and then we also picked up, drum roll, not surprisingly, a kicker, and that's not surprising because Joey Sly has really struggled pretty much the entire, I won't say half, but half the season he was good the first part, and then the second part he's been going downhill and downhill bad. I mean, I know this past weekend he had two field goals missed and an extra point. Previously he had some troubles where they were blocked, so it didn't seem as big of a deal, but Joey Sly has now officially been put on strong notice as we have signed former Browns kicker Greg Joseph to the practice squad. And I feel like he was signed to the practice squad because maybe they didn't have the strong enough feeling that this kicker was the person, but they wanted to keep a close eye out on his performance, and having him on the practice squad is a good way to evaluate him a little bit longer and again keep Joey Sly on notice. We had some significant injuries from that game versus the New Orleans Saints. We had Greg Van Roten and we had Dontari Poe, both of which Ron Rivera stated that he felt like both of those injuries were concerning and serious. So some developing news is that Dontari Poe is going to have surgery on his quad. Let me just make sure that's correct. Yes, on his torn quad. And sorry if I'm tongue-tied, man. I'm hungry. Sometimes when I'm hungry, I talk fast because I'm ready to go eat, even though I don't have nothing to eat. So back to football talk. So with that happening, the Carolina Panthers, this has not been confirmed because it's after hours, et cetera, et cetera. But the Carolina Panthers have signed former Redskins and Oakland defensive tackle Stacy McGee. And that's going to help certainly fill out that space for Dontari Poe. So lots of news there. Would love to hear you guys' comments. And one thing I really want to stress, I claim that I'm a man of the people and I work for you all. I was talking to a few people on Twitter this week about some things that they didn't like the Charlotte media doing. And regardless of if you like it or if you don't like it, I'm here to work for you guys. So if there's questions that you had, let's talk about it. I promise you, if you can give me a question for an issue that is professionally created, I have no problems going to the coach, going to the player, and asking that question and earning and keeping my title of man of the people. So leave your comments below. We'd love to hear from you. I'm Chris Jenkins for Charlotte Vibe.